All right. So I got a question. Do you ever feel like you are caught in the hustle, right? And you just can't get out, right? Like you are so far down the rabbit hole and you're popping gummy bears and sucking down caffeine and you do all that just so you can keep standing up straight. I mean, like I have been there, right? I've done that a lot of gummy bears to get me through because I do have a thing for gummy bears. And but the only thing that really stopped me from this kind of behavior um, was the pandemic, right? And it seems extreme. It seems extreme that it would take something that catastrophic to slow you down, and it certainly took that to slow me down, and it shouldn't have, right? Like it shouldn't have needed that. So today, I just want to break down 3 steps to freeing yourself from that hustle without like blowing up your entire life or moving to Costa Rica. I would love to go to Costa Rica. I don't really want to move to Costa Rica right now, but I would happily go there. So, welcome back to the Impact in Action live show where we talk about mindset shifts and tactical approaches to help you put your impact into action. And so, I am Maryann Lombardi. I am the CEO of Maryann Lombardi Coaching, and I'm also an author. And I help women and non binary entrepreneurs really ditch that work life balance lie so they can build profitable businesses that are in alignment with the kind of life that they choose to live. So, to start off this conversation about hustle, I really want to talk about what does hustle look like? Okay? So it looks like overwork, right? It looks like working harder and faster and longer and better. It manifests itself into lack of sleep or forgetting to eat or using substances like sugar, caffeine, or others just to get the work done. So on the outside, it can look good, like you have it all together. You're kind of high on accomplishments and productivity, and this is part of the problem, right? Because it looks good. But hustle culture is not always just defined by the corporate space, like the work world. It also shows up in our relationships or our parenting, or our need to do it all to be better, to be best, and to be better than someone else or something else. And to do it all great and beautiful, like you're sitting on some yacht somewhere. I don't know. And women are especially susceptible to this "you can have it all" messaging. That's combined with a work world that wasn't designed for them, and then coming home to a pile of unpaid labor that is also undervalued. So this keeps us in a hustle cycle often, which so often leads to burnout. So that's often what hustle looks like. Now, what does it feel like? Hustle feels like pressure, right? And it feels like exhaustion. And it comes with this rise and crash, especially when you're relying on those substances to make it through. And all of that is paired with irritability or distraction and disconnection. And sometimes it feels exhilarating because you're getting all things done, and that success breeds more hustle. So the cycle continues until it can be unsustainable. And that can start having these physical and mental and emotional impacts on yourself, but also on your relationship. So if you are around a pro hustle environment, you feel part of the in crowd, right? Like, and that feels good. You feel valued, like one of the boys at work or a super woman, mom, caregiver person at home. But it comes at this cost of burnout or stress or even fear of being left behind and anxiety. So that's what it feels like. So why is hustle so hard to deal with? Well, it's hard to deal with because it's rewarded. It's rewarded with promotion and opportunities and success, right? And it also feels good. Like parts of it feels good, like we talked about. For a while, it feels like you're superhuman. You get so much done and your business may grow fast and furious, but again, there's a cost to it. So it is hard to get out of that cycle because the hustle and that grind and the outcome is valued. It's valued by other people, it's valued by systems and social media. And it seems like your value increases when you celebrate this unhealthy approach to life management. So let's talk about those costs, right? Because there's a cost to this. Disconnected relationships, right? With the people that you love and care about. And there's no way to maintain happy and healthy relationships with people and be wrapped up in a hustle culture. It doesn't allow you the time and the attention to be on other things. So it also sets up these unrealistic expectations and locks you into those unsustainable behaviors and brings on those symptoms of anxiety and stress trying to maintain all that behavior. So this is what hustle looks like, what it feels like, and why it's hard to deal with, as well as the cost. So, like, what the fuck do we do about it when it is so ingrained in so many spaces? Well, the first thing we have to do is we have to call it out, right? First, you need to identify how hustle shows up in your life and call it out. Maybe it's in how you manage your work life, right? Maybe how late or how early do you work? How many hours are you on? And can you turn it off so you can be present for other things like your passions and interests and relationships, things that are outside of work, whether they're hobbies or non-work friends, right? Do you find it hard to manage your home life, your family life? Maybe you don't have downtime or doing nothing, right? Like doing nothing is amazing. Is your brain and body on all the time and scheduling yourself to do more? Right? When was the last time you goofed off or played or had fun? Right? Is work the only thing that you think is fun? Right? So we need to call out all those things. Think about if that represents who you are and call it out, identify it, and name it. Right? Say, okay, I'm sitting in the middle of some hustle culture right now. So if we name it, it has power. And we've talked about that before, right? Like naming is the key to change. If you can't or you won't name something, it's impossible to change it. So once you've called it out in your own behavior and you can see it visibly, the next thing you have to do is stop enabling it. Because when you enable something, you give it authority or you give it a means to do that thing you're enabling. So hustle culture isn't just about what you do, your behaviors. It's also about the behaviors of the people around you and the content you consume and the stuff that you are celebrating because hustle's infectious. You know, it spreads like a virus and it infects all that come in contact with it. So it's way too easy to get stuck in an environment or around people who are perpetuating that unhealthy work ethic. So the best way to eliminate that pressure is to eliminate spending time and attention with the people and on the things that provide that pressure, that perpetuate that pressure. Okay, so stop following influencers or gurus that glorify this hustle. Stop reading those parenting blogs or that newsletter that makes you feel like you got to do it all. And you have to accept to some extent there's going to be some FOMO, right? Like by doing that, you're going to have this fear that you're missing something. But just try to focus your attention elsewhere. Because you need to stop spending time with people who make you feel like you aren't doing enough or people who are always doing more. And I understand that it's not realistic to just go out and immediately quit your job if that's your primary hustle culprit, right? But you can say no to happy hours with people from the office where you know what's going to happen is you're going to go get to that happy hour and everybody's just going to talk about all their productivity hacks and what they got done and how great that is. And then maybe they go back to work after the happy hour. No, skip that, right? Like you don't need to be spending time in those kind of environments. So just get it out. Just don't do it. And once you stop enabling it, set some boundaries around yourself about it, right? Right. And you've already started taking action because by stopping enabling, you've taken an action, which is fabulous. That's great news. Now it's time to set some very clear boundaries around this new approach and your kicking of this hustle habit. I have a full training on how to set boundaries that stick, and we'll add that to the show notes. And it goes into great detail on how to set and most importantly, enforce those boundaries. So check that out. But in the meantime, in order to keep you from descending into the hustle hole, we need to set some boundaries. But please start small, right? Just pick one. Because if you try to solve everything all of the time, you're going to find yourself overwhelmed by that process. So just pick one thing that you're going to set a boundary around to protect. This is your time and attention. And remember, a boundary is a line that clearly identifies a limit of an area, or it's like a circle, right? And often we hit a snag with boundaries when we try to set limits around something without knowing what the boundary is protecting. So if you've got a circle, right, and inside, you have to protect something. But if you don't know what's inside of that boundary circle, It's really hard to set and enforce those boundaries if you don't know what you're protecting in the first place. So, what is your boundary protecting, right? Why? Why are you protecting yourself from the hustle? What do you want to be doing with your time and attention instead of praying to the altar of work, right? Is it to be present for your family or to repair your personal relationships? Or, you know what, spend a little time with yourself, maybe repair your own relationship with yourself. Or maybe you just want to learn basket weaving or go puzzle more. I don't know, whatever it is. And that's okay if that's what you want to do. That's fabulous. But pick one thing that matters to you. So maybe it's, I won't check work emails after 8 p.m. so I can spend quality and focus time on my family or on myself. That's great. That's a very clear boundary, right? But then you have to enforce it. Or maybe your boundary is, I will only organize 2 PTA events and not all 6, so I can spend time and attention on doing something for me instead of all of that time on the school community, right? But pick it, name it, call it out, and it's going to help you enforce it. So once you get a handle on that one thing and you get good at that boundary, it's going to feel really good, right? So add another one, but go slow. Just go slow, and you're going to find you're going to get really good at starting to protect your time and attention. So we're going to recap this. All right. We've talked about what hustle culture is. We've talked about what it looks like, what it feels like, why it's hard to ditch, and the cost of staying in that hustle. Okay. And we've also talked about how you get out of it. First thing you got to do, you got to call it out. You got to name it. You can't change anything if you are unwilling to recognize that the thing needs changing in the first place. So the next step of that is that you have to stop enabling it. You can't get out if you stay in and around the people, places, and things that are going to glorify what you were trying to leave, what you were trying to change. And then the third step is that you need to start setting boundaries to protect yourself from falling back into that hustle hole, but start small and work up from there. Okay, so let me know if this is helpful for you in getting out of that hustle culture. And real quick, I want to invite you to something because it's going to be cool and because I'd like to see you there and it would be awesome. But I'm having a free workshop starting on October 3rd. And we are going to get you ready to launch and grow in 2023. And I know you're saying, but it's not 2023, it's 22, and I'm still doing work in 22. Why the hell are you making me think about 23? Well, let me tell you why. Because we have 3 months left in 22, which is a perfect amount of time to set you up for kicking ass in 23 so that you start in January with a winning mindset, right? You don't have to work on that. You've got a winning mindset ready to go in January. You start with a strong and sustainable business offer that can double your sales in 23, right? If your business offer and your ideal client are not aligned, sales are going to be a bitch. Right? So we want you to have that sustainable business offer so you can double your sales in 2023. And then I also want you to have an unstoppable action plan that removes the doubt about what you're supposed to do next in your business. So join us for Purpose to Profit, 3 steps to sustainable growth in your business in 23. There's a link in the comments and everywhere. Pretty much like look around, you'll find a link. Okay, I would love to see you there. So thank you for spending time with me today, and go check out that boundary like training, which is in the link. Sign up for the workshop, and I'll see you soon. Okay, thanks. Bye.